10 ways to make your product or brand stand out. Every market is crowded nowadays, and competition is only going to increase. We have to assume that no matter what market we're in, no matter what situation we're in, for a particular company, our products, our brands, and our sales levels, it's only going to get more competitive and more difficult to either increase and or maintain what it is that we've got. So if things are going really well, we might feel pretty good about that. But the fact is, we don't know whether or not around the corner there's going to be increased competition, there's going to be some kind of disruptive technology, economic factors. So we want to make sure that we're being proactive about how we handle it. Obviously, if we aren't doing as well as we'd like, then we want to make changes anyway. So whether we need a way to grow our sales or just a way to make sure that we stay on top, it's really important to make our products or brands stand out in a crowded marketplace. The good news is there are actually a lot of ways to do that. So let's talk about some of them, and let's talk about some examples of popular companies and brands that use each of these so we can get an idea what exactly each means and how it might apply to our own business. We can decide which strategies make the most sense for us in our particular market, our sensibility, our capabilities, our budget, everything else, and then we can set out to make it happen. Then at least we have a differentiation strategy where we are alone in our market and everybody we resonate with will seek us out because we're different from everybody else. If we go by the age-old idea that we just want to throw out products and services and because it's there, people will buy it, it's not really a great strategy because the problem with that is every specialist will carve up the market and we'll be left with basically nothing. So let's talk specifically about 10 different ways that we could differentiate our products and our brand so we can carve out our own space in the market and we can achieve and maintain a level of success that we want. The first is something that's always talked about in Marketing 101 and any time that we decide to come up with any kind of product, brand, company, whatever. And that is our unique value proposition. So what is it about our product? The fact that we make a pair of shoes and that the shoes work, somebody can put them on their feet and walk around, doesn't make that a saleable product. It doesn't mean somebody's going to have a big demand for that because there are a lot of other shoemakers. There are a lot of other people, a lot of other brands that they could buy from. So if they're into image, they might buy, one of these brands. If they're into budget, they might buy one of these brands. If they're into, sustainable fabrics or whatever, it might be this. If they're into altruistic causes, they might buy these guys. So if we just have a pair of shoes and the idea is, hey, come buy them because they're pretty good shoes, but there's nothing that makes them unique or stand out. And it doesn't have to be the shoes themselves. It could be our brand. It could be our company. It could be what we stand for. But if there isn't anything unique about us other than, hey, you can get us too, then really the only options we've got are to compete on price or convenience. If we happen to be right in their neighborhood, well, maybe we'll make some sales because we're right there. If we don't, then no one's going to seek us out because we haven't given them any reason to. So the USP is basically the idea of clearly defining and communicating what makes our product or service unique. We're the only one that uses the double stitch, hand woven, this particular fabric imported from here with these kinds of laces and, double buff polish or whatever it is, right? So maybe it's something about the product itself, or maybe it's something about our service or our delivery or our accessibility or whatever it is, but there has to be something that we're going to offer that's unique. And we can compete on price. It's just dangerous because as a price competitor, if we aren't the lowest cost acquisition, we lose because everybody else will be able to cut us lower. The thing that Walmart figured out when they started going with the low cost leadership is that they had to be able to get economies of scale with that. So they identified what all of their suppliers' costs were, and they would offer them a few cents over cost for the distribution in exchange. And so for some companies that works really well because all they care about is mass distribution. They're not going to make a lot of profit selling through Walmart, but they're going to get mass distribution and awareness. Other companies say, no, our image is too important to us and we need to make more profit, so we're not going to do that. But the idea is Walmart understood that if anyone out in the market could undercut them in cost, and buy the products for cheaper, they lose. So they had no choice but to figure out what everybody else spends and figure that out and then offer a little bit over that so they guarantee themselves low-cost leadership. And so cost can be tricky if that's what we're trying to compete on. And it's one of the little levers that's really easy to pull, right? Everybody knows, oh, if we lower our prices, more people will come. But it's a dangerous strategy if we don't have something inherent in what we're doing that's going to make it possible to sustain that. So we have to answer the question, why should a customer buy from us over our competitors? And having a product isn't the answer. You know, it has to be something that makes it unique, that no other company could claim. The way you know a USP is unique, or UVP, or whatever you want to call it, unique value proposition, is the fact that nobody else can claim it. If what you say is so general that it could apply to any company in your industry, then it isn't effective. It has to be something unique to you, that if you try to apply it to all your competitors, it doesn't work. So a great example of this is Apple, right? Apple stands out because they combine sleek, user-friendly design with cutting-edge technology. And that's what they've always done for differentiation. There are other smartphones, there are other computers, there's other technology. There's nothing that they're doing that in and of itself is completely unique. In fact, a lot of other manufacturers like Samsung have sort of gotten closer and closer to what Apple's doing. And some of them have even taken Apple ideas, improved upon them, and that makes, puts Apple a little bit at risk. But the fact is, the user-friendliness element of it, where it's a closed system and they use their own operating system, so there isn't an open source element to it where people can mess things up and things don't run right. That's been another one of their real strengths with this. So some people love it, some people hate it, but for the people who like it, they're all in. Everyone who loves Apple. And so they're a leader in multiple technology segments based on their unique value proposition. Second thing we can look at is exceptional customer service. This seems like it's sort of, that's, what's the big deal about that? It's kind of boring. But the fact is, especially nowadays, where everything is so transactional and high volume, customer service as a function of business has plummeted. If you ask the average person their average customer service experience, in general, you're going to hear more horror stories than good ones. And so it actually can really be a way to stand out, particularly if there's no one in your market already doing this. If we provide stellar customer service, I don't mean, okay, we answer the phone when they call and we respond to an email within 24 hours. That's passable customer service. I'm talking about something that you do to go above and beyond. There's a hosting company that I deal with, and one of the things that I do is when I have questions about my blog or my website, I reach out. And I'm somewhat technical, but there are some things, because they're hosting it, that I have no access or control over. And I have to say, I consider their customer service excellent because they're very responsive. It only takes minutes. They are very helpful. They rarely make excuses or pass the buck, and they always solve the problem. And what more could you ask for? If I know that I have a problem with a lot of products, I sigh about it because I think, oh, okay, what hoops am I gonna have to jump through to get this thing fixed? With them, I already know. Within 3-4 minutes, I'm probably gonna have the whole thing solved, certainly within a half an hour. And that's awesome, right? So one thing we can do is provide stellar customer service that goes above and beyond expectations, and it has to be significantly better than everybody else. If it's just a nudge better, it's hard to differentiate on that. But it can be everything from personalized customer interactions that ensure a smooth customer journey. It can be, anything that adds value and makes the customer feel great about needing service, not the purchase, but service for whatever they needed. Get their questions answered, get the product returned, whatever. Zappos is a great example of this. They're renowned for their customer service. They offer free shipping, 365-day return policy, and their customer service reps are always empowered to be able to go above and beyond so they can ensure customer satisfaction. It's not, oh, I have to transfer you to the manager. Let me see if I can do that. I only know answers to the dumb, low-level questions. They actually give the people power to make decisions that are on the behalf of the company that are in the best interest of the customer. So that's very powerful. Third thing we can do is a strong brand identity. Develop a distinctive brand identity that reflects our values and resonates with our target audience. Now, this is particularly good if we are a creative sort. if we're an artistic sort, if we like this kind of thing, style and all that other kind of stuff. So this could be a memorable logo. It could be a consistent color scheme. It could be a unified tone of voice across all of our channels. An excellent example of a really good branding company in this way is Nike, right? They have a very powerful brand identity because it's characterized by their iconic swoosh logo. They have the Just Do It slogan. They sponsor, world-class athletes and put them in these really cool, ads and commercials with all these special effects, and, they make them look even cooler than they really are. And, that strong identity resonates with athletes and fitness enthusiasts globally. So that embodies motivation and excellence. And that's what people, want to be able to do. The irony, of course, is they mass produce sneakers, right? So, what you're buying is something that hundreds of other, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of other people have bought. Yet, for some reason in our minds, we feel like this is something really cool and unique because of the branding that they've done and the way that they've set that stuff up. And so, that can be very powerful, and it's really good for us if we're somebody that has a creative bone in our body, and we gravitate toward unique and cool, and we're able to do that and pull that off. So that's one in particular that it has to be who we are, or we have to hire somebody who is that. I'm analytical, so that isn't going to be my strength. But if I wanted to go with that with my company because I felt like that was really the edge, then I would hire somebody who'd excelled at that and have them do it, because that's a really important thing that needs to be done by the right kind of person. The fourth thing that we can look at is quality and innovation, right? So a lot of products roll out, and this is particularly true in the digital scape, but it's true of consumer goods products as well, and every other type of product. We all have gotten something shipped to us, and when we open it, it's melted, it's broken, the packaging is all ripped, there's something wrong with it, something about it just isn't that great. So it looks like it was sort of thrown together, or that they didn't spend a lot of time on quality. And if it's okay if we start there, but if we have a focus on continuously improving the quality of our products and innovating, and we embrace that and we're vocal about it, we don't just do it in the back room. We don't just do it quietly. We make people know that that's what we're doing. And we let people know, oh, we're giving you the free upgrade. We're adding these features. Here's our newsletter. These are the 4 new things we've done. These are the tweaks that we made to this. This is how we made your experience better for that. And if we do that for customers that have already spent their money with us, that engenders a lot of trust, because it shows we stand behind what we're doing. It shows that we care about it. We care about our customers, and it's going to give them confidence to keep coming back, but also to refer their friends. And it's going to give them great stories to tell, because they're going to be able to say, I bought this and it was all right. I mean, it wasn't great. And then they just shipped me another one and said, look, we made 5 design improvements and we're just giving you one. I mean, wow. Or they sent me an update. I only paid a one-time fee, and then I got 12 software updates over the next month. There's 5 new features in the software. I mean, this thing's awesome. So if we keep ahead with new features, new designs, or new technology, that can set us apart from others in the industry as well. A great example of this is Dyson, right? The vacuum cleaner company, the air blade, like hand dryer thing. They always stand out with innovative designs for household appliances. They look very, very cool. Let's face it, their vacuum cleaners look space age. I have one, and it's a little bit clunky. It's an older model, so it's a little heavy. But the newer ones are really sleek and really cool. They attach to the wall. You pop the thing off. It's weighs like 2 pounds, and you can vacuum. You don't need to change the moving parts or the bags inside of it. Those are all awesome innovations that, it's one of the reasons I don't get excited about vacuum cleaners, but it's one of the reasons I bought one, because I said, this is really cool. I love this technology. I love what they stand for, and I like the kind of stuff they make. I also, by the way, have a Dyson air purifier, or like a fan, because I also felt like that was a really great thing to have. It's quiet, and it oscillates and it runs and it monitors the pollutants in the air and all this other kind of stuff. It's super cool. So their vacuum cleaners are their flagship product, but they have a lot of other ones too. And the vacuum cleaners they're powerful, they're ergonomic, they last a really long time. I think I've had mine 15 years. and they feature unique cyclonic technology. So there's a lot of uniqueness with it. It's hard to find that anywhere else. The fifth thing that we can do is build community engagement, right? If we build a community around our brand by engaging with customers on social media, hosting events, creating spaces for customers to interact with each other and with our brand. So these are things that it obviously is going to depend on what our product is. But if it's a visceral thing or it's an experiential type of product or service, this is made for it. I mean, this is awesome. And once you start to build a community, these people get crazy excited and bonded to that. So they'll never go anywhere else. A great example of that is Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson doesn't just sell motorcycles. They excel in building a loyal community. You know, they have, if you talk to somebody who owns a Harley, they say it with pride. They love the idea that they don't just have a motorcycle, they have a Harley. You know, and that is like a badge of honor for them. The brand isn't just about motorcycles, right? It's about fostering a lifestyle. It's a sense of belonging among the riders. It's that freedom. It's the ability to be the accountant that sits in the office 5 days a week and then drives down Main Street with their, a bandana on and has people nervous about them, which is funny. But the idea is, right, it makes them feel cool. So there's a whole lifestyle attached to it. There are community events. They go on joint rides. They do all these other kinds of conventions. I think in New Hampshire, a couple 100 or 2 miles north of me, they have conventions I don't know if it's in the fall, and there's like thousands and thousands of Harley riders go up there, and they all hang out, and they do various different things, but they all check out each other's bikes, and it really builds that sense of community. The sixth thing we can do is storytelling. We can utilize storytelling to make our brand more relatable and memorable. Everybody loves stories. So if we can share stories about our brand's origins, the people behind it, how our products are made, that can create an emotional connection with our customers. And it also can really be entertaining and engaging, so it doesn't feel like we're advertising or pitching. A great example of this is Airbnb. They use this really effectively because they show other people experiencing the vacations in the Airbnbs. They don't just sell accommodation. It sells experiences and the idea of belonging anywhere. So through its marketing campaigns, they have real stories from hosts and travelers sharing unique personal experiences that sound really cool, quite frankly, and that all occur because of their platform. That storytelling approach helps humanize the brand and create a deep emotional connection with the audience. So that is a super, super effective way to do it as well. If you are a good storyteller, this is an awesome, awesome way to differentiate your brand, or hire somebody who is that can do it just the same way, because it can be very, very effective. And everybody loves stories. They cause us to drop our guard and engage. Seventh thing we can do is sustainability practices. Some people are really into the environment or being a global citizen. We can emphasize any eco-friendly practices, sustainable aspects of our products. I know for me, when I see that something is sustainably farmed, sustainably fished, whatever, I'm definitely more inclined to buy that, I'll be honest. I think that it's really important that we protect the environment and the planet. And so I don't go crazy about, all those causes. But if it's between that and something else, not even a contest. So it appeals to a growing demographic of environmentally conscious consumers, but it also establishes our brand as a responsible one, a good global citizen in the community. Patagonia is a great example. They're a leader in the environmental advocacy through their business practices, including using sustainable materials and donating a percentage of its profits to environmental causes. So that is a really effective way to do it as well. We can also use exclusive offers, providing exclusive deals, limited edition products, or membership benefits that can make customers feel valued and incentivized to choose your brand. So there are a lot of brands that do this. Membership has its privileges. Who's that from? What's that, American Express? So they're selling that right out in the open. Supreme is another brand that has mastered the art of exclusivity with limited edition drops that create urgency and demand among consumers. Because if you want that apparel and there's only a limited amount, you're going to have to go get it. So the apparel, the accessories are highly sought after, and so that can create another way to bond with your customers, and the fact that they get something unique. I've seen this done where they have limited edition things where there's a number stamped on it or a certificate that ships with it. That's a really cool way to do it too, and then you can charge more. Ninth thing we can do is strategic partnerships. Collaborate with other brands or influencers that align with our brand values and introduce our products to a wider or new audience. Great example of this is Spotify. They do, as a brand, they use strategic partnerships to stand out. They're obviously a music streaming service, but they have numerous collaborations that enhance their service, and it's how they've grown so quickly. It also broadens their appeal. One notable partnership they have is with Hulu, where they offer bundled subscriptions to both services at a discounted rate. Really smart, because a lot of people that are going to want one are going to want the other. That provides tremendous value to consumers that are interested in both music and video streaming, and yet they don't compete with each other, so it works. Spotify's also teamed up with some hardware companies like Samsung, so they can become like the go-to music service for Samsung smartphones and smart devices, stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways to do this if we're creative about it, and those strategic partnerships can not only serve as a way to differentiate ourselves, but they can also really expand our market penetration really fast, really easily, and very cost effectively as well. It also can give us greater credibility if we're going upstream with a brand that has a better name than us or more popularity than us. 10th thing we can do is visible expertise. If we can establish our brand as an expert in our field through content marketing like blogs, ebooks, podcasts, webinars, or speaking at industry events, it builds trust and credibility with the audience. The master at this is McKinsey Company, the consulting company. They've always used their brand to show visible expertise to really stand out in the consulting industry. They're renowned for its rigorous hiring standards and their emphasis on hiring highly skilled professionals with diverse backgrounds. They like to only take on cases that they can learn from, and they showcase their expertise through in-depth research reports, white papers, articles in a variety of industries and management topics. So they're frequently cited by media and used by top executives for strategic insights. It's awesome for credibility. So with those strategies and some examples of how to use them and who's using them, we can evaluate our own business and brand and decide what makes the most sense. The takeaway here is that if we try to be everything to everyone, we'll end up being nothing to no one. Every market gets carved up by unique players that each stake their claim and build their brand with a deliberate and consistent strategy. Over time, it becomes embedded in the market's mindset, and that leads to a competitive advantage, and some security anyway, against the competition, economic factors, and changing times. So we need to decide what we can do best for us, our brand, our sensibility, our resources, and lean into that to let our customers and prospects know why they should choose us. If we give a compelling reason that matters to them, we stack the odds in favor of our long-term success.